All right, so from today, we're going to start Playwright. So as part of today's class, we will see introduction part, like how we can set up the environment. And then we will see the architecture, how exactly Playwright works internally and what kind of protocol it will follow. And after that, we will see how we can set up Playwright and how to install Playwright plugin. And then we'll see how we can write a basic test case, web test case. So as I said beginning, Playwright supports both web automation as well as API automation. So we can achieve both type of automation testing using Playwright. It supports both web automation as well as API automation. So initially we will focus more on web automation. So first we will start with the web automation testing. We will learn all the things. And once we complete web automation, then we will go with the API automation. Okay. So as part of today's class, we will see the introduction plan. So as I said beginning, Playwright will support both web and API automation. And since we're using Playwright along with the Python, so we need to install a plugin. So Python is basically a programming language, what we have understood so far. Right? It's a programming language. But what is PyTest? We have also learned about PyTest. So what is the use of PyTest? It is basically a framework, or we can also say it is a testing framework. It is a testing framework developed on top of or developed using Python. Okay, using Python. So we have a test engine concept for Java. Similarly, PyTest is also one of the built-in testing framework developed using Python. So Playwright is also available as a plugin on top of PyTest. Okay, so Playwright is available as a plugin on top of PyTest. So whenever I say it is Playwright is available as a plugin on top of PyTest. So what is a prerequisite? Obviously, what is the prerequisite if we want to install Playwright? So what should be the prerequisite? We need to have Python and also we need to install PyTest. So if we have these two components or these two installations, then we can straightforward we can install a Playwright component. Okay. So what is the prerequisite to install Playwright? Prerequisite is what? First, we need to install Python. So earlier we have already done with the installation process, right? So we no need to install again. So the same installation we will continue with. And then we have to install PyTest also. So to install PyTest, we need to simply give one command called pip install PyTest. So that is a one command we should give. So once we have installed Python and PyTest, then we can start installing Playwright. So because Playwright is available on the top of PyTest framework. So how we have discussed about PyTest, how to write the test and execute it, in the same process we follow even Playwright also. Okay. So these are the two prerequisites. So to install Playwright, we have certain commands. Install Playwright. So there is an official document, very clear and very neat document is available for even Playwright also. Just to Google and find out Playwright Python. So when you go to their official documentation, this is how. So as of now, Playwright supported multiple languages, right? So here you need to select Python. So they have given detailed information, exactly installation process. So here, if I look at this, installing Playwright PyTest. So Playwright is implemented on top of PyTest. So this is the command we have to execute. So pip install PyTest-Playwright. And after installing of this command, this is the first thing. So what this command will do, this command will actually install PyTest Playwright. Okay, so PyTest Playwright plugin will be installed. This is the first step number one. So as I'm already assuming like you guys have already installed Python and PyTest so far because we are working with them from the last 15 to 16 sessions, right? So I'm not going to show you again installation of Python and PyTest. Same installation, same thing we will continue with. The only additional thing is we need to just install PyTest Playwright. Okay, this is the command we have to run through CLI. And if you run this command, pip install PyTest Playwright. So this is going to install Playwright, PyTest Playwright, a plugin. Okay, and this itself is not enough. This is for writing our automation test cases. Okay, we can write a automation test cases using this particular plugin. But once you write your automation test cases, we should execute on multiple browsers. So Playwright is also provided their own browser engines, we can say. So we have to install them also. So install browsers. Playwright, we can say Playwright browsers. So what are the difference between our local browsers and Playwright browsers? Basically, every browser will work based on some engine. For example, if I look at the Chrome browser, we have an Edge browser, we have a Firefox browser, okay, and we have a Safari browser for Mac. So these are the different browsers currently available in the market, right? So how exactly these browsers will work internally? Every browser will follow a kind of an engine. So for example, we have a Chromium engine. The engine name is Chromium. So by using this Chromium, the Chrome will work actually. The Chrome is implemented on top of this Chromium engine. Similarly, Microsoft Edge also using the same engine internally. So that's the reason you can find the same kind of features in Chrome and Edge browsers, because at the backend, both the browsers are having same kind of an engine. And for Firefox also, there is an engine called Firefox engine. And for Safari, there is an engine called as a WebKit. So for every type of browser, there will be a different kind of an engine internally runs. So how exactly Playwright works? So Playwright is provided the browsers in the form of their engines. So we need to install Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. As of now, these are the three engines they have currently supported. So if you run automation on a Chromium, that means what? We have already tested on Chrome and Edge. So we no need to separately run testers on Chrome and Edge, because internally the Chromium is a main engine which will run behind the Chrome and Edge browser. Okay. For Safari, we have a WebKit. WebKit is an engine. Almost all Mac OS based browsers, WebKit is one more type of engine which will support internally. So apart from this installing PyTest Playwright plugin, we need to also install these browsers. Okay. So to install these browsers also, we need a command. We need to run one command, which is PyTest install, pip install PyTest. This is the one command. Only two commands we need to run through command prompt. Okay. Pip install PyTest Playwright. This is the one command. And to install Playwright browsers, we need to install another command. Okay. These are the only two commands we need to run from the command prompt. So let's see, they have already given the documentation. I'm just getting those commands from this documentation. Because we have already have Python setup, we already have a PyTest also. And if not, you can also install PyTest by using another command called simple install pip install. What's the command to install PyTest? Pip install PyTest. So this is the command. But Python, to install Python, we need to have installer. Through installer, we need to download. So through installer, we can install Python. Only through installer, through UI, it is possible. There is no command line for installing Python. So through installer file, you can install Python. But PyTest is available in the command prompt. So once we install Python successfully, then we can run this pip install PyTest, which will install PyTest. And after that, we can run another command called pip install PyTest Playwright. After that, to install browsers, we need to execute another command called pip install PyTest. Okay. So these are the few commands we need to execute to set up the environment. So as I said again, Playwright provided their own browsers. We are not going to use our local browsers. Okay, so we already have Chrome browser, Firefox browsers, right? So I'm using these browsers. I'm browsing some information from these are my local browsers. Our Playwright cannot interact with our local browsers. So Playwright will come along with their own browsers. Browsers in the sense they provide engines basically. And the Chromium means Chrome or Edge. Firefox means Firefox. WebKit is nothing but a Safari or any other browser you are working on Mac. Okay. So as far as I know, Safari browser, most of the people will use on Mac OS. So at the backend, WebKit is a engine they will run. So currently Playwright is supporting, these are the three engines, Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. And these engines also acting as a browsers. Okay. So when you run our automation testing, Playwright will launch the Chromium browser. That is actually Chrome browser itself. Okay. Chromium means if you run this Chromium, that means it covers both Chrome and Edge. You don't need to run the test cases separately on Edge if you run it Chrome. Similarly, if you run the tests on Edge, that means you have no need to run them in the Chrome again one more time. So Playwright consider these two browsers are exactly the same. Okay. So Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. You will see how exactly Playwright will open the browser. We can see all the actions on the browser. Okay, how exactly we do automation and we run the tests on browser. Exactly the same thing the Playwright will also do. I'll show you in few minutes. Just hold on for have some patience. Okay. So this is a installation process. This is simple installation process. And don't compare with the Selenium. So Selenium is having totally different kind of architecture. So there we will use something called W3C protocols. Okay, HTTP request and HTTP response. Once you get, there is a two-way communication. So that's the reason Selenium scripts are very slower when you compare with the Playwright execution. Playwright will execute test cases very faster. Okay, so we need to install these commands to set up the Playwright. So what we will do is we will go back to the PyChamp because we already set up the Python project earlier. And also we have set up the PyTest, which is already available. Now, what are the new commands we have to execute? So we need to execute only two commands: pip install PyTest Playwright, pip install PyTest. So these are the only two commands you need to execute. Okay, after that, we will go and further. Okay. So these are the different browsers currently Playwright is supported. Okay, so if you want to test or if you want to run the test cases specific version of the Chrome browser, then again we have to depending on something called Lambda test or browser stack. Some third-party cloud environments are there. So there it is possible. But by default, if you run the tests in the Playwright, internally they will use only Chromium engines or Firefox or WebKit. So we don't consider about the version. So if anybody introduce a new version in the Chrome is nothing but what they have introduced some new features on the Chrome. But automation point of view, the execution is always same, even if it is going for old version or newer version. It doesn't make any difference. Okay. So you will slowly understand going forward, but don't go beyond the stick to this concept. Slowly you will understand once you start introducing the new concepts. Okay, still we are discussing about environment setup. Okay, so these are the only two commands we have to run because we already have Python and PyTest. So only this is the first command, this is the second command. First command will install very faster, but second command will take some time, 1 or 2 minutes it will take. And after that, we can start working with the Playwright. So I already installed these two commands in my PyCharm. Simply what you need to do is just go to your PyChamp and open the terminal. So we already know about this. Earlier we have installed plugins, right? Same thing. Go to the terminal and here you need to simply give one command. You can simply say PyTest we already installed. So pip install Playwright, pip install PyTest Playwright, PyTest hyphen Playwright. So this is a simple command you need to run. So once you command this run, which will finish few seconds, and after that one more command you have to run, pip install Playwright. Okay, first install PyTest Playwright plugin and after that install browsers. So this command will install the browsers, pip install Playwright internal browsers. So basically it will install browser engines, not Agile browsers. When you run the automation, it will run on the particular engines. It seems very similar to the browser, so don't worry. You can see all the execution on the browser. Okay, so these are the only two commands. You just run the command prompt. Even if you're not able to run here, you can directly open the command prompt. Even if you're working on Mac also, you can open the terminal and run the command from the command prompt. So wherever you want, you can just install them. Okay. So these are the only two commands, guys, nothing. But if you learn Playwright in TypeScript or JavaScript or Java, so there is a lot of setup we need to do. But in Python, it's very easy. Okay, just two commands you need to run. It will set up everything. Okay, we already know how to install IDE, Python, PyTest. And additionally, these are the only two plugins we need to add to work with the Playwright. Okay, so if you want, you guys can try this parallelly. So just install this command, will be done within few seconds, and this will take time because it will pick all the browser servers and installation will take time. Okay, so now once the setup is ready, then we will start writing our automation test cases. Okay, so let's see how we can automate the test cases. Let's go back to PyChamp and let me close this terminal now. And I'm going to create a new folder. I'm just continue with the same project. And if you want, you can create a new Python project. Again, you need to freshly do everything, or else you can just continue with the existing project. So because already created the new project, I'm just going to create new directory for today's class. I say day 18. And from today, we are starting with the Playwright. So I can say day 18 hyphen PW. So I'm just giving a new directory. So now we need to start creating a Playwright test cases. So let us see how to create a Playwright test. First listen, I will clarify all the questions at the end of the session. Don't type anything, just listen what I'm saying. If you face any issues, I'll check it at the end of the session, okay? Right, so listen carefully. If I miss any point, I don't repeat again. Don't type anything. If you keep on typing, you won't listen. At the end of the session, I will check all the issues and clarify your questions, okay? All right, so day 18-PW, so new folder is got created. And inside this, just like a PyTest, how we have created the test cases in the PyTest, how we have executed, in the same fashion we follow for Playwright test cases also. Okay, internally we are just writing Playwright test methods, but inside this we are writing Playwright code. And the naming conventions are exactly the same. Even module name or method name or function name should start with the test underscore. Okay, that is sure. The same naming conventions we have to follow, just like a PyTest. So I'm going to create a new module and I'll name it as a test underscore playwright. Test underscore playwright. A simple module I'm creating. So in one single module, we can create any number of test functions. And each test function will test something on the web browser or web application. Okay. So let us see how to write a simple test. And after that, I will also explain about synchronous and asynchronous programming and what is the difference and which approach we have to follow in Python. So I will discuss all of them. Hold on for a few seconds. Okay. Now, so let us see how we can write a simple test case, very simple test case in PyTest. So whenever you want to run a simple test case or if you want to create a test case, as usual, we need to first write a test function. This is simple module. Okay. In the module, just like a PyTest, we are creating a new function, test function. How to create a test function? Def keyword, right? Def test underscore, I say verify page URL. I have written simple test function. Simple test function. What is the name of the test function? Test underscore verify page URL. So inside this test function, what I'm going to verify is I just launch my web page and then I will verify that URL is correct or not. So whatever application on the URL I'm opening on my browser, which is correctly open or not, the same URL which I'm opening or not, I want to just verify that. So inside this particular test function, so we need to write a playwright code. But before writing the playwright code, Playwright is provided a built-in fixture that is called page fixture. Built-in fixture called as a page. So what is a fixture? We have understood in the previous class. What is a fixture? Fixture is a reusable function which will perform certain task, right? Which will perform certain task. Sometimes it will also return something for us. So by default, Playwright is provided one fixture called as a page fixture. So that we need to specify here. This is built-in fixture. We have not implemented any fixtures. We are trying to use a built-in fixtures provided by Playwright. So whenever you want to use any fixture or external fixture inside our test function, how we can specify the fixture inside the bracket. Okay. Now the same fixture we are going to use inside the function because this fixture is having again so many methods. So we need to access them. But again, if you want to access this particular fixed function or predefined fixture, we need to import this. From where we need to import? Playwright is provided two packages. So one package is from Playwright, from Playwright, dot sync API, async API. These two are important, guys. So from the Playwright, we use either sync underscore API, async underscore API. So these are the two approaches which we have to write our automation test cases. I'll tell you what is there and what is there and what is the difference between these two. Okay. First, we will start with the sync API. So Playwright.sync API is a kind of a package, predefined package is provided by Playwright. From this, we need to import page class. We need to import the page class. So page is a class which is provided inside this particular package or module, whatever. So this particular class is provided inside this. So this particular fixture, whatever we are accessing, is part of this class, because the fixtures we can also create inside the classes, right? So whatever fixture we are accessing here, this is a part of this class. So we have to specify that from which class this fixture is able to access. So whenever I accessing the feature from the class, we need to specify the syntax. Okay. So the first rule is what? Whenever you want to write your Playwright automation code, we have to import this particular thing from playwright.sync. Import not only page, there are many things are there. I will import later. So for now, I need only page class, which contains a page fixture. Okay. So this is the first rule. And now we will implement the test function. So in any automation test or any automation code, what is the first task we will do? We will launch our browser and we will open the application URL, right? So here I'm trying to use the same fixture, page. This particular fixture I'm accessing page. Inside this page, there are so many methods are there. These are all the different methods provided by Playwright itself, built-in methods. From where these methods are coming from? Playwright itself. So here we have a function called goTo method, goTo. And inside this, we need to pass a URL. And whichever application you want to access, you can simply pass the URL of the application. So what this function will do, what this method will do, this method will actually launch this application URL on the browser. On which browser? Chromium or Firefox or WebKit. By default, Playwright will follow Chromium browser. By default, if I run the test, it will be executed on Chromium. That means Chrome or Edge, whatever. Okay. So how do we know it is a fixture or a parameter? So you can just put the cursor on it. It will show you actually. So if I put here, it is starting with the uppercase character, right? If I just place the cursor on it, it will show you this is basically a class actually. Okay, and fixture names will normally start with the lowercase characters. Fixtures always start with the lowercase characters most of the times. Okay. So we have discussed many things about the fixture in the previous classes. Please go through and watch those recordings. So this class is only for Playwright, not discussing about the fixtures. There's a huge concept. I have already taken 1 hour, 2 hour session in the previous sessions about the fixture. I think PyTest first class. Please go through. If you're not understood, I cannot repeat here again one more time. Okay. Sorry for that. So fixture is not a reusable function. In single sentence, I can say fixture is a reusable function. Either we can create our own fixture or we can use built-in fixtures. In the previous classes, I have shown you how to create our own fixture and what is the use of it. But here we are trying to use a built-in fixture. Page is a built-in fixture provided by Playwright. Okay, that's it. Now this particular line will open the URL on the browser. So after that, we need to do some validation also, right? So how to do validation? What kind of validation we do in this? Verify the page URL. So whatever URL I provided here, whether it is opening the same URL on the browser or not, we need to check it. So we need to add some kind of a assertion. And here Playwright is provided their own assertions. We are not going to use PyTest assertions. Okay, PyTest is also having their own assertions, but we are not going to use it here. PyTest assertions mostly we use with Selenium, but here Playwright itself is provided their own assertions, validations. So we are going to prefer them. So to add assertion, we have to use one method called expect. Okay, expect. So whenever you are using this expect, we have to import this expect also. This is also comes from the playwright.sync API. So what is this expect? In the expect, we have to pass the page fixture. Whatever fixture we are referring here, same fixture, page fixture dot. Here we need to call the assertion method. So what is a method? To have URL. There are so many assertions are there. We will discuss them in the separate class. Okay, so 1 or 2 classes we will spend more only on assertion types. So expect of page dot to have URL. So this required a parameter. So what kind of URL we are expecting? This is the same URL I'm going to expect. So you need to just specify the URL. Simple steps. So first step, we'll launch the application with this URL. Second step, it will verify. So in the whatever the page we have opened here, on the same page, we are expecting this URL should be there. So this is called expect. We are expecting. What is the testing? Testing means what? We should do some validation, right? So when you open this particular page, what we are going to expect? What is the test name here? Verify page URL, right? We need to check the URL is correct or not. So when you're launching this particular page, what you are expecting? The page contains this URL. So that's the reason we put expect. Expect is a function. It is a method. Okay. And what this will do, we can provide our own expectations. So what exactly we're expecting? That is all about assertion, a validation point. So whenever you do some kind of validation on the browser, on the web page, we use this expect function. Okay. So in expect of page dot, there are so many methods are there. Different type of validations we do. Every time we don't do same kind of validation, right? So different validations we will do. For different validation, we have a different methods are there. All the methods we will able to access from the expect itself. Because we are using expect, we need to import here. This is a basic structure of writing the test case in PyTest Playwright. Okay. First, we need to create a test function. We should pass a page picture that should come from the page class. So we need to import this, and page.goto is a command or method. Inside this goto, we need to provide the URL. So which will open the URL in the browser. And after that, we are expecting this page should have this URL, simple test. And by default, when you run this test, our PyTest or Playwright will run this on the Chromium. Chromium in the sense you need to consider that as a Chrome browser or Edge browser. Okay, so how to run the test in Playwright? Simple, because we have only one test for now. You can click on this triangle, run the test, or else you can just right click and run the test, or through command prompt also we can run the test. So most of the times we prefer to run the test using command prompt, because through the command prompt we can provide multiple options, like on which browser we want to execute, or do you want to execute parallel or serial, or you want to execute headless mode or headed mode. All these options we can provide through command prompt. But if you run through UI, we cannot provide such type of options properly. So only through command line we can provide those options. Even when you're integrating our framework with the CI/CD, the commands will be very, very useful. Okay. So now we'll see how we can do this. So expect is a function in which we need to pass a page picture. So this is used for validations. So validation. So whatever URL we are passing here, once it is launched my application, we are checking that page is having the URL which we provided here or not. So this is our expected URL. This is our expected URL that should be there in our browser or the page. So what here we are passing, this is our passing URL. So we are passing this particular URL in the browser. But after passing and after launching in the browser, we are just checking whether the URL is same or not. Whatever URL we are passing here, that is the same or not. Here we are just passing the URL in the browser. Here we are verifying the URL is correct or not. For that, we have added this expect dot to have URL. Okay. So now let us see how to run this. To run this, simply go to command prompt, and if I run like this, what will happen? Let me show you. So I'm just running this test. Okay, now it is launching. It is open my console and it is running. By default, you can see it is running on the Chromium. By default, it is taken Chromium. So after running this, it will show the result in the window itself. You can just look at here. Okay, now you can see it is collected one item and it is get passed. But have you seen any browser launching any URL? Nothing. That means what? By default, Playwright will run our test inside in headless mode. There are two kinds of modes are there. I'll tell you. Anybody know what is headless and headed mode? Headless and headed mode. There are two modes of execution. Two modes of execution. Anybody have any idea? Headless means what? Headless means what? No UI. We cannot see any UI. We cannot see any actions on the UI. Everything will be running on the backend itself. And finally, we can see only result, passed or failed. That's it. That is called headless mode execution. Headed mode execution is nothing but what? We can see the UI with all the interactions, all the interactions with the all the elements which are there in the web application. Okay, so that's the difference between headless and headed. So by default, Playwright will follow headless mode execution. So that is the reason, even if you run this, we are not able to see the browser or anything. Even if you run through command prompt, see, I'm running through command prompt. Go to terminal and clear. And then how to run the PyTest test case? PyTest space, directory name is what? Day 18 PW slash name of the module test underscore playwright.py. And what are the options we need to provide here to see the output in the console? -s, -v, right? So now you can see it is giving an error. So directory is not correct. Sorry. PyTest day 18 -pw / test underscore playwright.py. Okay. So what is wrong in this? Unrecognized arguments. Sorry, there is a space here. Okay. So now it is running. Now you can see this. One item is got collected and executed. But have you seen any output here? It's just giving. See, one it gets passed. That's it. But still we are not able to see any UI or anything. That means what? By default, Playwright will run the test in headless mode only. Okay. So how to run the test in headed mode? So now I want to see the browser is open and URL is visible or not. So we need to just look at that. So to run our test in the headed mode, we need to just pass one parameter here. We need to just pass one parameter in the same command in the CLI mode. Clear? Same command, -, headed. I'll give the list of commands. You can keep it with you. Later you can try this. So -, headed. So when you give this option, now you're able to see the browser launch. You can see this. This is my browser. See the same URL which is opened on the browser and launching the page. Done. It is automatically closed. So now we are able to see on the UI. So this is called headed mode of execution. Headed mode of execution. Okay. So this is how we can simply create and run the test. So I'll show you another test case. So let's go and close this. Now I'm going to run another test function. So in this function, we're just verifying the URL. Now we want to verify the title of the web page, the title. So let us open this URL. Don't practice now, just listen. I will share all the information later after session is completed. Don't do any practice parallelly, just listen. So this is the web page. How we can find the title here is, you can just go back and view page source. By default, this page is having some title here. Somewhere it will show. You can see this is my title. So I just want to verify it is displayed the right page or not. So URL is correctly displayed here. URL is correct. We verified that. But the right page is got displayed or not. So how we can identify, how we can confirm the page is right or not based on the title of the page. This is the common validations most of the times we do for web applications. So title validation we have to do. So let me add one more test function to verify the title of the web page. So how we can verify the title of the web page. So for that, I'm going to create another test function. For every type of validations, it's better to create a multiple test functions. So that will be helpful. If you put all the validation in one test function, in tomorrow, suppose one validation is got failed, another validations will be automatically skipped. Okay, so make sure each and every validation is having separate test functions. Okay, so test underscore. Now this time verify the title of the web page. Verify the title of the web page. Now I'm writing another test function. Okay. So what's the first thing we need to do? Whenever you create test function, we need to get a page picture. Page from where? Page class. Right. So what's the first task? We need to navigate to the web page. So to navigate to the web page, I can say page.go to. Same step again. Same URL. I'm passing one more time. Same URL. So now this will navigate to the page. After that, we need to verify the title of the page. So how to verify the title of the page? Okay, suppose before expectation, before adding the expectation, I want to get the title and print in the console window. I want to capture the title. But most of the times we don't do like that in our automation test. But in Selenium Java is a totally different case, because Selenium Java, we don't have a built-in assertions concept there. But here, without getting the title, without capturing the title, we can directly put the assertion using expected. So how we can put it? Simple. Again, one more time, expect, or we need to pass a page fixture. And this time we want to verify the title, right? So dot to have title. This is a method to have title. So what is the title we are expecting is, we need to specify that correctly. So where we can find the title? So here we can find the title at the beginning, at the header place, you can find the title. So don't put anything else. Space is also considered exact title. You need to just provide here. Okay. So now this is a expectation for us. Right. So now let us run the test. So I just open the browser and then I just verified the title. Simple test, very basic test. Don't go very advanced for now. I'm just going with the basics now. So once you understand the basic, then we will see the advanced one. Right. Now again, go back to the terminal and then run both the tests. So now if I run this module, by default, both the tests will be executed, right? But I want to run only the second test function. Then how we can do through command prompt? So here you need to just specify. So module name .py colon 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 test underscore verify title. Okay, this is how we need to access the specific test function from the module. And if you don't specify this, by default, module will be executed. So again, I'm running in the headed mode itself. So when I run this, error found. So no match in any of the module. I think the name is not correct. Okay. So let me specify this. So exact name we have to specify very carefully. So PyTest day 18 test underscore playwright .py colon colon test underscore verify title, verify title hyphen s hyphen v. So is the spelling mistake anything? No. Hyphen s hyphen v hyphen header. Okay. So now it is collected one item. You can see my browser is launched and URL is launched. And after that, it will just verify the title and it will close. So if website is responding slowly, it will take some time. Otherwise, it will go very faster. Okay, now my page is launched. This is a Chromium actually. It seems very similar to the Chrome itself. So now you can see my one test is passed. So my expectation is got passed. Okay, so this is how we can simply write test functions in Playwright and we can execute them. Okay, so now sometimes we can also use some kind of a regular expression. Sometimes in this particular URL, I no need to provide the complete URL. I can also use some shortcut here, and also you can use some shortcut with a regular expression also you can use. We can see that later. And before that, let me show you something. So here in the two test functions, what exactly we are doing is we are just opening the browser and verifying something. So here we are verifying the URL is correct or not. And here the title is correct or not. But I want to actually capture that information. Let's say I want to capture the URL at the runtime, or I want to capture this title at the runtime. So is there any possibility to get them? Yes. So let's go to the first function one more time. So before expectation, I'm just want to capture the URL from the page. Simply what you can do, page.url. So this will actually returns the URL of the page. So you can load them or you can save them in the URL. I can say my URL. You can put some variable like this. And after that, you can just print. So URL of the application, my URL. Okay, this is how we can simply capture. But anyway, we already have this expectation directly. So we are not going to use this my URL inside this expectation. So because we can directly pass it here. So this will actually print the URL. Same thing, we can also capture the title of the page. So after launching it, we want to capture the title, same page.title. So this will actually return the page title and you can store that in another variable. And if you want, you can just print that in the console window. Title of the page, comma, you can say my title. So this is how we can also capture the data, and without capturing the also we can directly put the expectation like this. So now I'm going to run both the test functions directly. So to run both the test functions, how we can run it, same command, but instead of specifying the test function, just specify only module, test underscore module playwright.py -s -v headed. So I'm running this in the headed mode. I'm running this in the headed mode. Now run it. Now this time, 2 items have collected. So now it is running the first test function. After completion of the first one, then it will start second one. We can also run them parallelly. I'll show you that. So now first one is done. So now this is a second one. Okay, so now you can look at here. 2 items are collected. First one is passed. Second one is also passed. So this is the title. We have already printed the information, right? So URL of the application is this is captured information. Title of the page is this one. So like this, we can also write the tests. Okay. Now, before going to the execution, I will show you different commands or different ways of executing this, different options. So before discussing that, I'll try to introduce something called synchronous and asynchronous. So interview perspective, this is important. Listen carefully. Synchronous versus asynchronous. Synchronous versus asynchronous nature. This is basically nature of the programming language, synchronous and asynchronous. So let us try to understand the concept, but it is important to understand in Playwright, TypeScript and JavaScript. But in Python, we never follow this concept. Okay. So why it is, why we don't follow, I'll explain this. So let us try to understand what is synchronous and asynchronous nature of the programming. I will clarify questions at the end of the session. Listen this concept. So let us say in the programming, we have written some steps like this. Number of statements, okay? So when executing your program, by default, it will go on line by line execution, right? First statement will execute, then second statement, third and fourth and something like this. So first statement is got executed. And at the back end, it will perform some task. So this statement is got executed. Suppose I have used go to command. Go to, I provided some URL. So what exactly this will do internally? It will call, it will go to the server and hit some kind of a function and then open the URL in the browser. So that means whenever you call this method by passing some parameter, at the backend, it is doing some task. It is performing some task, right? If this task is completed, then I can come back and execute another statement. If the task is completed, then I will come back and execute another statement. Again, this statement send to the request to the server and do some task. And once this task is completed, again, I will come back and execute another statement. If you go this particular procedure, we can call it as a synchronous nature. Synchronous. It will go to server, task will be completed, then only next statement will be executed. Again, task will be completed at the backend, then only it will go to next step. This nature is called as a synchronous nature of the programming. Okay, this is one thing. Asynchronous means what? In some programming languages, if I execute this statement, it will do the task, but it won't wait to complete this task. Parallelly, this task is keep continuing, but meanwhile, the second statement will go and trigger. And again, this will also do some task at the backend, but again, next statement will go and trigger. This nature is called asynchronous nature. Asynchronous nature. So what is the problem in the asynchronous? In synchronous nature, we don't have any problem because once the task is completed, then it will go to next statement. It will successfully execute. Again, the task is completed, then it will go to next one. So in synchronous programming nature, we don't have any problem. But when you come to asynchronous nature, or if any programming supports asynchronous nature, then problem come into picture. So what is the problem? When I run the statement, it will perform certain task at the backend. Right? So this statement, this task won't be completed, but before completing this task, the next statement will keep executing. Definitely this statement will fail or not? because it is depending on the previous request. So once the previous request is successfully completed, then the second statement will successfully execute. But in asynchronous nature, what will happen is this task keep continuing, but the next statement won't wait for the previous statement to complete. So second statement keep continuing like this. This is problem in the asynchronous programming languages. Okay, so in asynchronous programming language, normally we use certain terminology called as a promise. Promise. So promise is nothing but what? What is promise in general term? Some assurance, right? Promise is nothing but some assurance. So promise is nothing but what? Suppose when I run some statement, it is running in the backend. Some task is running in the backend. If the task is completed, that means what? Promise is fulfilled. Promise is fulfilled. If the task is still in progress, is still not completed, then we can say promise is in progress. Sometimes task may failed. Task may failed also, right? Suppose I'm opening the URL by using go to command, but some application is not responding, the URL is incorrect, then what will happen? Task may be failed. So in that case, promise will be failed. So promise can be fulfilled or completed. Promise can be in progress, or promise can be failed or denied. Promise can be denied or failed. So these are the different states of the promise. Okay. So if the promise is fulfilled, or if the promise is completed, or task is completed, then I will go to next statement. And again, second statement sends some request to the server. Again, task is in progress. I should not go to the next statement until the task is fulfilled or promise is fulfilled. So to handle this kind of a situation, what we will do normally, we will use something called await keyword. Await. What is meant by await? So in asynchronous programming languages, especially when you run a certain statement, it will start running the task at the backend. So we need to wait till that particular task fulfill the promise or fulfill the task. For that, we need to put await statement before every statement you write in a programming. If I write 10 lines of code, before all the 10 lines, you need to write a await statement. So what this await will do, it will wait till the promise is fulfilled. Once it is fulfilled, then it will come back and execute the statement. So especially in asynchronous programming nature and asynchronous programming languages, we use await for waiting the statement or to fulfill the promise. Await is nothing but what? It will wait the statement to fulfill the promise. And in whichever test function, you will use all the statements in the test functions, inside the test functions, right? So in whichever test function you have used these await statements, before the test function, we will use something called asynchronous keyword, async keyword. So await async is combinedly we have to use. We cannot separate them. So when I use await inside the statement, in front of the test function, we have to use async. These two are interrelated. If I use await here, but if I forgot to put async keyword here, these things will not work. Await will not work. Okay. And when you're working with the Playwright plus JavaScript or Playwright with the TypeScript, this is important because TypeScript or JavaScript are completely asynchronous nature. They don't follow the synchronization. They follow the asynchronous nature totally. So that is the reason this promising, handling it, and awaiting asynchronous function creation, this is all compulsory. But when you're working with the Python, it is supported both. Not Python exactly, Playwright PyTest. We have installed one plugin called Playwright PyTest plugin, right? Playwright plus PyTest plugin. So this plugin supported both asynchronous and also synchronous. Both the APIs are supported. So that is the reason we can write the test function either using synchronous way or asynchronous way. So asynchronous, again, if we want to use, again, every test function we need to define by using async keyword, by using await keyword, lot of stuff is there. So simply to avoid that, Playwright PyTest is recommended synchronous nature of writing the test function. So all Playwright Python test teams, everybody will use synchronous methodology. They don't go for asynchronous methodology, but sometimes when you do API testing, especially this kind of nature we need actually. So that time I will explain what exactly asynchronous is nothing but. So for now, just for your understanding, I'll show you one simple example. Don't worry about if you do not understand for now. So let's go back. Now we have written these two test functions. In which approach we have written these two test functions? By using synchronization or asynchronization? Sync API, we have imported this playwright.sync API. That means what? We have followed the synchronization process. We no need to use await or async anywhere in our test functions. Okay. Suppose now I'm going to write another test by using asynchronous nature. By using asynchronous nature. Now you will see that. Let me close this. I'm creating another, but we never follow this approach, just for your understanding, because Playwright PyTest is supported both the approaches. Okay, now I can create another one, test underscore playwright underscore async. I'm just giving a module name like this. Okay, so same function, whatever I have created this one, I'm just going to copy here. But instead of importing this async API, we need to import from playwright dot sync playwright dot sync async API. This one we need to import. Again, same import page expect. These two are exactly same. So what is the only difference between these two? Here we are trying to use synchronous API. Here we are going to use asynchronous UPI. So whenever you are imported this page and expect from asynchronous API, before that function, we should specify async keyword. This is mandatory now because we are writing the test in the asynchronous approach or asynchronous mode. That is mandatory now. And when I create asynchronous function, we cannot directly get the page fixture here. So we need to create our own Chromium. We need to create our own stuff, everything, because this is asynchronous nature. We cannot directly do like this. So how we can do is can just remove this part. So inside this test function, we need to create our own asynchronous function basically. This is also asynchronous, but internally we need to create our own customized asynchronous function. I'm going to show you this. Don't worry if you're not understood, because we are not going to follow this approach. There's the one reason. Second reason is we are not going to use this actually. So in the upcoming sessions, once we start API testing, then you will understand what is the exact usage of asynchronous nature of writing the program. So now I'm writing something called async with the keyword I'm using. So I'm writing a simple function, asynchronous function, async underscore playwright as P. So here basically P is representing an alias of this particular function. This is actual function. P is an alias. The P is representing this whole thing. Async underscore playwright is a user defined name. You can give whatever name you want. This is a function, a test function. Just like a test function, inside this I'm going to create a normal function. So inside this, we need to keep this. Everything we need to keep inside this. But again, what is this P? P is representing what? P is representing an alias of this function. So we need to create our own Chromium browser here by using P. P dot Chromium. So here we need to use something called browser equal to await P dot. So as soon as you say P, it should come with the options. It is not coming means we have not properly imported the package from playwright.async API import. Okay, sorry. Expect page is okay, but we need to also import something else called this one. This is also built in actually. So import async underscore playwright comma page comma expect. Okay. Now this async underscore playwright we are implementing inside the test function. So actually this is a function and we are giving some alias, and with this alias we are going to create our own browsers and our own applications. So you can say await P dot, here you can see Chromium, Firefox, all the browsers you can see here. By using normal synchronous nature also we can create our own browsers, but here it is not possible. Here we have to create our own. Otherwise, we cannot directly access the existing one. Await p.chromium dot, there is a method called launch. So this particular method will actually launch the Chrome browser. And that I'm going to refer with some variable here called browser. Okay, why I'm putting is await here? Because this particular method will run at the background. It runs the background actually. Chromium.launch, it will perform certain task at the background. So we need to wait till this task is completed. We need to wait till the statement returns the promise. That's the reason we have to put await here. Similarly, by taking the help of this browser also, we can specify the URL. So browser dot, in the browser, we are opening the new page. So take the new page method. This will return the new page. This will return the new page on the same browser, whatever we created here. So that page also we need to keep await before, and that we are storing in another way. I can call it as a my page. Now browser is got created. My page is also created. Now these three statements we can run under this my page. So my page dot URL, expect my page dot to have URL. So this is how we need to write our test function by using asynchronous mode or asynchronous approach. This is also built-in function. Okay, so we need to import this from this particular package. This is the approach. Now how to run this? Again, same procedure. Go to the terminal and run this command. I can say test underscore playwright underscore async dot py. Same in headed mode I'm going to run. So now I'm just running it. Yeah, now it is failed. So why it is failed? Yeah, you can see a message. Async def functions are not natively supported. So you need to install a suitable plugin for your async framework. For example, they have given some plugins. So if you want to follow this asynchronous nature of coding, you have to install one of this particular package. The most popular package is this one. Plugin is this one. Okay, this we need to install. So that is a prerequisite for this. So prerequisite for asynchronous execution is what install this particular PyTest. So how to install it? Same command, pip install PyTest async IO. PyTest async. This is a command. So if you run this command in the console window here, this particular plugin will be installed, and this is especially for asynchronous nature, not for a normal synchronous nature. So I have already installed this in the command prompt, but why again still giving this error? Because only installation is not sufficient. We should also specify one marker here, which is pytest dot mark dot async IO. Async IO. This is the same thing actually. So at the rate pytest dot mark dot async IO. So whenever I am accessing the pytest here, you have to import the pytest also. Import pytest. Okay, so this is the procedure of writing the test function using asynchronous nature. Okay, so now let me run this. So now it is collected one item and it is running. So in which mode I have run? One passed. Okay. See this headed mode only, right? So I have run headed mode only. So let me run once again. Okay. Let me clear this. Which test case I'm running here? Test underscore playwright async py headed mode. Okay. So one collected item. So it is successfully executed actually. But still there are some warning. Expected URL. And but still it is get passed here. Somewhere we forgot to put await or asynchronous. Somewhere we forgot. So that's the reason it is not giving. So here we put await. Here is a fine. Okay, here we forgot to await. So before a set also, almost in every statement, we need to put await. So these two we don't need for now. So here we are referring the my page, right? So here we need to put await. This is must. Here we are just storing this in the variable. So in those cases, for browser my page, we don't need await. But when you call these two functions, we need await here. Okay, now let me run once again. Now one item is got collected and it should open the browser, but still it is giving some error. So assertion error to have URL with the timeout. Okay, it is basically timeout issue. Let me run once again. Okay, so page URL expected to be this one. So where we have specified the URL, we have not specified anywhere, right? So we are expecting, but we have not specified the URL. Where we have specified go to we have missed it. Okay, so once we create this page, then we have to use my page dot go to, right? So we forgot this actually. So go to, we need to specify the URL of the application like this. So then we can do verification. So here, do we need to use await here? Definitely, because this is also running at the background. It should complete the promise. So await should be used. Okay, let's go and execute. Clear. I'm running headed mode. I should see the browser instance. It's still running. So yeah, so one is get passed. But still, I'm not able to see the browser. Did we pass headed? Yes. Okay, now it is passed, but somehow it is not executed in headed mode. So let me run like this. Actually, we should pass hyphen headed. So then it will run on the headed mode. Even it is asynchronous nature of coding, so it should launch the browser every time. Somehow it's still not launching the browser. Just a moment. Let me put the option here. Headed. So we can also pass this parameter somewhere in this method. So okay, we'll check it later. Okay, so this is actually the way of writing the test function using async API. So what we need to understand is we can write the test function in two different approaches, either by using sync API or async API. So mostly in TypeScript and JavaScript, we follow this particular approach because Python or PyTest is supported synchronous nature. So we directly follow this. So by default, supported synchronous nature. Okay. But this approach is useful when you do the API testing because in APIs, whenever you send a request, it will do some task at the background. So we need to still wait till the task is completed, till the request, and we will get the response, right? Once we need to wait till we get the response and then we will perform the next task. So in that particular scenario, this approach will be very useful. And especially when you do web automation, we don't need to send a request and response every time. So the browser will take care of it. So that's the reason we go with the normal synchronization approach. So these are the two approaches which we have. So for web automation, most of the time we prefer synchronous way of writing the test function. For API testing, we will try to prefer the asynchronous nature of writing the test automation. So these are the two different approaches support. But if you go with Playwright or TypeScript or JavaScript, everywhere we follow asynchronous nature. Okay, by default, JavaScript, TypeScript follow the synchronization. Asynchronous await is mandatory. Okay, so this is how we need to write. So now let me show you quickly few commands. Let's go back to the previous test function and I will show you different option to run the test functions. There are various commands are there, all the combinations we will see. So normally to run all the tests by default, Playwright will follow the headless mode, right? So when you give this command, and I'm going back to the previous test, okay, test underscore playwright dot py. And by default, if I run this, it will run both the test function in headless mode. So by default is a headless mode. I'm running both again, one more time. So collected 2 items, and once these 2 tests are completed, then directly it will show pass or fail. That's it. So now first one is completed, passed, and again running the second one, verify title. By default, it is running on the Chromium. So we can also specify on which browser we want to run it. So now both the tests are passed. So this is headless mode of execution, as I said before. So to make it headed mode, simply we can say hyphen hyphen headed. So if I give this command, now it will launch the browser inside the, it is launching the application inside the browser. See this? Application is open, first test is got completed, and this is the second step. So both the tests are running on the headed mode. Okay, I will write, I'll give the document which contains all the sequence of commands. I'm not writing here. So later you can go through the document and execute all the commands. Or okay, so another command we have. Suppose this command will run the test in the headed mode, but I want to run my test on specific browser. By default, which browser it is launching? Chromium. But I want to specify the browser also, like Firefox I want to run. So simply you can specify another parameter, give one space, hyphen hyphen browser, hyphen hyphen browser, give one space, and then specify it, WebKit or Firefox, whatever. So even though WebKit support Mac OS, still you can run WebKit on Windows because we have our own Playwright internal browsers which are already installed. So you can run our test using Chromium. Here you can put Chromium or Firefox or WebKit. I'll show you all three. So Chromium we already seen. Now you can say browser Firefox. Now this time both the tests will be executed on the Firefox. Now you can look at this. This is my Firefox browser. Now this is my first test is running on the Firefox browser. Done. Now it is second test running on the Firefox browser. And you can also specify the multiple browsers. Let me show you this. Okay, now both are passed on Firefox browser. Suppose I want to run on both Chrome as well as Firefox. So then give one more option. Give one space, hyphen hyphen browser and Chromium. So now two tests will be running on two different browsers. Let me run this. And which mode I'm running? In headed mode. Let's run it. Now 4 items are collected. Why 4 items? Because I'm trying to run two tests in two different browsers. So totally 4 tests should be running on two different browsers. So now Firefox first test is completed and this is the second test on Firefox. Done. And now this is Chromium again. The first test is running on the Chromium. First test is running on the Chromium, and now after that second test is also going to run on the same Chromium browser. It is running. Yeah, it is done. So totally 4 tests are got executed. So these are the 2 tests on Firefox. These are the 2 tests, again same 2 tests on the Chromium. Okay. Suppose I want to run them parallelly. So as of now, tests are running one after another. Now I want to run them parallelly. So simply what you can do is specify this browser. By default Chromium. Okay, so you don't need to specify the Chromium also by default. So for now, this command will run the test functions in serial mode, one after another. But I want to run them parallel mode. So to run them parallel mode, in PyTest, we have seen one option. What is that? And to run that parallel test, we need to also install one plugin. We have already discussed about this. XDist. Right? To run the parallel test, we have a one plugin called XDist. So we have already installed area. So if you have that plugin installed, then only you can run them in the parallel mode. So now in the parameter also we need to pass something. If you want to run the parallel mode, we need to specify the number of workers. So how can we specify the number of workers? There are many ways. -n equal to 2. So if I say 2 workers, 2 test functions will go parallelly. Or you can say like this, -n space 2. This is also right syntax. Or
PyTest is introduced another option. So this -n is comes from the PyTest actually. Playwright is given another option here. -hyphen num processes. Num processes. This is the option. You can use either equal to 2 or you can use space 2. 2 is not constant value. You can put 3, 4 up to 5, no problem. Depends on the number of tests. Okay, this is the option which is provided by Playwright additionally. So even if I simply say -n also, it will work as usual. So now I'm specifying 2 and 2 test functions, one single browser, 2 parallel tests. Now just observe this. I'm running this. Now you can see 2 workers. Now this is one browser, this is another browser. 2 browsers are running parallelly. 2 test runs are running parallelly on 2 different pages. This is how we can achieve the parallel testing. So we can run the multiple tests parallelly. Okay, so understood all these commands. This is important. So even if you're not understood about the asynchronous nature, forget about this. This is not much important for now. Just I'm just showing you like this is an approach is also available. If you look at the code somewhere else, you don't have any confusion there. Okay, so if you want to make headless and parallel, yes, you can. The parameters are up to you. You can pass n number of parameters. Suppose if you want to make it headless parallel, you can simply remove this parameter. Then at the back end, it will execute parallelly. Okay, and suppose I put headed mode, and also I want to specify the browsers, 2 browsers. Yes, you can specify. How we can specify -hyphen browser -hyphen browser. What is the browser? Chromium. And also I want to specify Firefox -hyphen browser Firefox. So totally how many tests will be running? If you give this command, how many total tests will execute? How many tests will be executed if this command? I have totally only 2 test runs, only 2 test functions. And here I am giving 2 browsers, 2 functions. So totally 4, not 8. Right, each test function will be executed on the Chromium and Firefox, right? Here 2, here 2, totally 4 test functions. How many workers are running? 2 workers. 2 workers are running. Okay, so now let's see how it is going to work. Now you can see 2 workers, 4 items. This is one browser, this is one browser, because we have given only 2 workers, so only 2 browsers will be open at a time. So you can see now some of the tests are completed. Now again another 2, I think in the Chromium 2 tests are completed parallel execution. Now open the Firefox, both are completed parallel executions. Went very faster. You can look at this. See, these 2 are, this is Firefox, verify page URL, Chromium. And this is again Firefox. This is again Chromium. So 2 test functions are executed on 2 different browsers parallelly. So you can also combine all these commands like this. This is very helpful when you're working with the CI/CD concepts. Okay. So I'll give the document which contains everything. You can just go through it. Whatever I have discussed during the session, everything I provided. So setup auto environment. Install Python PyTest. If you don't have, you need to install, or else continue with the existing installation. So install PyTest Playwright and Playwright install. This will take some time. Need to wait till 100% it is completed. And after that, this is optional. Okay, if you want to, suppose you already install PyTest Playwright. Tomorrow the new version came in the market. Then if you want to upgrade it, then you can install this command. You don't need to uninstall again. Simply, if you're already there, then you can simply say pip install playwright -u. So this command will get the latest version. And I have already told you difference between synchronous and asynchronous nature. And as I said, in Python Playwright, you don't always need async await because it provides a sync API. So as I said, 2 APIs are provided. So one is sync API, another one is async API. So this is actual sync API, this is async API. We are going to use only sync API, but not async API. So this is the point you need to remember. So sample tests I have given, and these are the commands I have shown you. How to run the tests in the console window. So running all the tests, run the test in headed mode, run the tests on different browsers, run a specific test function, and run the test parallel. You need to have this particular installation. I think in the previous class we have already done it. So these are the different options we can use to run tests parallel on multiple browsers. Okay, so do this practice for now. Just do all the installation setup and try to write the test functions and try to execute and see everything is going smoothly or not. So then the next class we will go further. So we'll try to understand what are the other testings we can do on the web and how to interact with the elements, what are the different locators are supported by Playwright. There are many things are there. We will discuss slowly, step by step, one by one. Okay, so that's it for all for today's class, and tomorrow we will continue.